Welcome to Army Controller Training Module. Inspired by Shri Sanjeev Mittal, IDAS, Controller General of Defence Accounts. Lyrics by Shri Sanjeev Kumar, IDAS, Additional Secretary and Financial Advisor, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India. Presented by Principal Controller of Defence Accounts, Southwestern Command Army, Jaipur. Conception and patronage by Shri Saroj Kumar, IDAS, Principal Controller of Defence Accounts, Southwestern Command Army, Jaipur. Chief Mentor and Reviewer Shri Himanshu Shankar, IDAS, Integrated Financial Advisor, Southwestern Command Army, Jaipur. Directed by Dr. Bhuvnesh Kumar Verma, IDAS, Joint Controller of Defence Accounts. Assistant Directors Shri Abhishek Sharma, IDAS, Shri Sushil Riyad, IDAS, Shri Mohan Lal Meena, IDAS, and Shri DK Oza, IDAS. Defence Accounts Department comes under the Ministry of Defence with the Controller General of Defence Accounts as its head. It is one of the oldest central government departments functioning for more than 270 years. The duties of Defence Accounts Department are broadly audit, payment, accounting and financial advice to armed forces, ordnance factories, border roads, DRDO, Coast Guard, etc. The department is also responsible for making payment of pension to retired armed forces personnel, including defence civilians. The quality policy is: the Defence Accounts Department is committed to render efficient, correct and prompt accounting, payment and financial services leading to customer satisfaction. It is also committed to render efficient audit services to ensure public accountability. The mission statement of our department is: we strive to achieve excellence and professionalism in accounting and financial services and in performing audit functions.
Minimum government, maximum governance is the present government's commitment, and being part of the administration, we are mandated to fulfill this commitment. As Defence Accounts Department, we are expected to provide effective financial advice, internal audit and efficient accounting services to Ministry of Defence and its organizations, including the three services. To achieve this, we require a clear sense of responsibility at all levels, integration of the existing work procedures with a dynamically changing work environment by constantly adapting to new challenges quickly in a professional manner. For this, we have to strengthen our workforce with the required knowledge and expertise through suitably devised training programs. In this direction, I congratulate Shri Saroj Kumar, Principal Controller of Defence Accounts, Southwestern Command, for conceptualizing and creating the training module for the Army Controllers for meeting the departmental training requirements. Such effort is all the more commendable since it has been undertaken during the period of COVID-19 pandemic related national lockdown and its related restrictions on office functioning and travel. I have assessed these modules and it is my opinion that the contents of each video tutorial are adequate for providing in-depth knowledge about the subject as also its practical aspects through examples and case studies. I hope this Army Controller Training module will become a milestone in imparting departmental training online and shall further motivate other controllers to develop similar video tutorials on other topics as envisaged in the DAD Training and Development Policies 2019. Moreover, development of e-learning modules is the need of the hour for training of our officers and staff. Once again, I feel great pleasure in conveying my best wishes to all the officers and staff involved for contributing to the development of these training modules in a comprehensive and effective manner, especially in view of the fact that the entire exercise was carried out by officers and staff members of Principal CDA South Western Command. I hope to see more of such innovative developments in future for enhancing the training functions of our department. I would like to end with these few lines from Shri Amit Arjun Bhardwaj, a motivational expert. कुछ करना है तो डटकर चल, थोड़ा दुनिया से हटकर चल, लीक पर तो सभी चल लेते हैं, कभी इतिहास को पलट कर चल, मिलेगा तेरी मेहनत का फल, किसी और का ना इंतज़ार कर, कुछ करना है तो डटकर चल, थोड़ा दुनिया से हटकर चल। थैंक यू। जय हिंद।
मित्रों, आज देश ही नहीं वरन संपूर्ण विश्व एक भयंकर त्रासदी से गुजर रहा है। ऐसी स्थिति में सभी प्रकार के कार्य बुरी तरह से प्रभावित हुए हैं, फिर चाहे वो सरकारी कार्य हो अथवा गैर सरकारी कार्य। हमारे विभाग का एक महत्वपूर्ण कार्य अपने अधिकारियों व कर्मचारियों के लिए प्रशिक्षण की उचित व्यवस्था करना है, जिससे हम अपने निर्धारित कार्य को सुव्यवस्थित, दक्षता एवं गुणवत्तापूर्ण ढंग से संचालित कर सकें। वर्तमान विश्व त्रासदी को देखते हुए आज सभी जगह सामाजिक दूरी एक अनिवार्यता हो गई है, जिससे कि हम स्वयं को तथा अपने आसपास के लोगों को संक्रमित होने से रोक सकें। इसी को दृष्टिगत रखते हुए यह सोचा गया है कि हम प्रशिक्षण में ई लर्निंग माध्यम को अपनाकर अपने अधिकारियों व कर्मचारियों को ऐसे किसी जोखिम से बचाते हुए दूरस्थ प्रशिक्षण के माध्यम से प्रशिक्षित कर सकें। रक्षा लेखा महानियंत्रक महोदय के मार्गदर्शन में ट्रेनिंग मॉड्यूल इसी सोच का परिणाम है और इसमें हमने उन महत्वपूर्ण विषयों को समाहित किया है जो सामान्यतया कमांड पीसीडीए सीडीए के लिए अति आवश्यक हैं। हमारे अधिकारियों और कर्मचारियों ने पूरा प्रयास किया है कि गुणवत्ता पूरी तरह से बनी रहे तथा वर्तमान नियमों अधिनियमों को भी सम्मिलित करने का प्रयास किया गया है। मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है कि यह मॉड्यूल हमारे लोगों को समुचित प्रशिक्षण प्रदान करने में सार्थक होगा, जिससे वे अपने कार्यों को कुशलता व दक्षतापूर्वक संपादित कर सकेंगे। धन्यवाद।
सर्वश्रेष्ठ हो, सर्वप्रिय हो, कार्य करें सर्वोत्तम, यही हमारा मूल मंत्र हो, यही हमारा लक्ष्य परम। सर्वश्रेष्ठ हो, सर्वप्रिय हो, कार्य करें सर्वोत्तम, आओ मिलकर करें प्रतिज्ञा, सर्वश्रेष्ठ बन जाना है। विज्ञान ज्ञान अनुशासन को जीवन की धुरी बनाना है, जीवन की धुरी बनाना है। सर्वश्रेष्ठ हो, सर्वप्रिय हो, कार्य करें सर्वोत्तम, यही हमारा मूल मंत्र हो, यही हमारा लक्ष्य परम। सर्वश्रेष्ठ हो, सर्वप्रिय हो, कार्य करें सर्वोत्तम, यही हमारा मूल मंत्र हो, यही हमारा लक्ष्य परम।
Hello everyone, I am M.K. Makwana.
And I am Pushpa Chaudhary. Friends, we are going to discuss some basic facts regarding personal claims of central government civilian employees.
There are generally 4 types of personal claims in respect of central government civilian employee. These are leave travel concession, children education allowance, medical claims, traveling allowance claims. First, we shall discuss about leave travel concession claims. Leave travel concession scheme was introduced by central government for welfare measure of central government employees. This scheme provides an opportunity to central government employees for journey to any place in India or to their hometown with his or her family as per entitlement. Eligibility conditions for leave travel concessions are: LTC is granted to central government employee to travel to any place in India or to hometown as well. An employee must have completed 1 year of continuous service on the date of journey. Government servant whose spouse are working in Indian Railway or National Airlines are not eligible for LTC. LTC will cover the government servant and his family. Here family means spouse of government servant and 2 surviving unmarried children or stepchildren wholly dependent on the government servant, irrespective of whether they are residing with the government servant or not. Married daughter, divorced, abandoned or separated from their husband, and widowed daughter and are residing with the government servant and wholly dependent on the government servant.
Now we shall discuss about types of LTC. Two types of LTC facilities are provided under this scheme. First, LTC to hometown, and second is LTC to any place in India. LTC to hometown is allowed once in a block of 2 calendar year, and it is admissible irrespective of distance between headquarter and the declared hometown, whereas LTC to any place in India is admissible in a block of 4 years in lieu of 2 concessions to hometown LTC. That is, if an employee not availed to consecutive hometown LTC, then he will be entitled for LTC to any place in India. Starting from 1956 to 1957, the present block of hometown LTC is 2020 to 2021, whereas starting from 1974 to 1977, the present block of 4 year is 2018 to 2021. If declared hometown of an employee and his headquarter is at same place, then employee will not be entitled for the hometown LTC. For example, if an employee posted at Jaipur and his hometown is also Jaipur, then hometown LTC will not be permissible to the employee, and if availed, then claim will be forfeited. Some special provisions are incorporated in LTC scheme for fresh central government recruits. As per these provisions, fresh recruits may avail hometown LTC for first year, second year, third year, and LTC to any place in India on the fourth year. Similar is admissible for next block of 4 year. That is, a fresh recruit may avail this facility for first 8 years with reference the initial date of joining. Similarly, if an employee who is not entitled for journey by air wants to perform his or her LTC journey by air, then he may avail this relaxation to visit Northeast region, Andaman and Nicobar, and Jammu and Kashmir. Present period of this scheme is 26th of September 2018 to 25th of September 2020, which is extended by the government time to time. Air journey is allowed in the following sectors. Number 1, between Kolkata or Guwahati and any place in Northeast region. Second is between Kolkata or Chennai or Vishakhapatnam and Port Blair. Number third is between Delhi or Amritsar and any place in Jammu and Kashmir. An advance up to 90% of total fare is allowed for the LTC journey. This advance may be drawn before 125 days of outward journey in case journey by the train, whereas before 65 days in case journey by air or sea or by road. Employee has to intimate the railway or air ticket number, PNR number to competent authority within 10 days of drawal of advance.
For reimbursement of LTC claim, claimant should keep some rules in mind, such as incidental expenses and expenditure occur during LTC journey shall not be reimbursed. Similarly, no daily allowance is admissible during LTC journey. Only fare for to and fro journey will be reimbursed in full. But service tax, education cess, and other similar charges on travel are reimbursable under claim. One should adhere the timeline for submission of claim strictly. For it, if advance is taken for LTC journey, then claim should be submitted within 1 month from the date of return journey and within 60 days when advance is not taken. Not adhering the timeline for submission of claim results the forfeiture of claim. Some salient points of LTC are can be availed during any leave including study leave, casual leave, special casual leave. It cannot be availed during closed holiday only. Without taking any leave, that is leave is must for LTC. Can be availed during child care leave also. Travel entitlement for LTC within the country are pay level 14 and above entitled for business or club class by air or AC first by train. Pay level 12 to 13A entitled for economy class by air or AC first by train. Pay level 9 to 11 entitled for economy class by air or AC second by train. Pay level 6 to 8 entitled for AC second by train. Pay level 5 and below entitled for AC third or AC chair car by train.
To cover incidental expenses incurred on travel, government has allowed encashment of earned leave up to 10 days after implementation of 6 CPC. Maximum encashment up to 60 days is allowed in career span. Encashment of leave may be allowed 60 days before the proposed date of outward journey. Sanction of leave encashment should be, as a practice, done in advance at the time of sanctioning of LTC. In case sanction of competent authority for the encashment of earned leave is not taken prior to commencement of outward journey, then ex post facto sanction of competent authority within prescribed time limit for the submission of LTC claim is required. This ex post facto sanction must be issued by the next higher authority. Sometimes claims of LTC are turned down during audit due to some audit observations. If some common facts are kept in mind, then claim may pass smoothly. Few of these observations are as follows. Number 1, claims must be submitted within 60 days after the completion of outward journey in case no advance is taken for the LTC, or within 30 days if advance is taken for the LTC. Otherwise, claim will be treated as time barred and result in forfeiture of the claim. Second, time barred claim must have time barred sanction of competent authority. Number third is person entitled to travel by air but performed his journey by private airlines, that is other than Air India, is not admissible. Number 4, LTC 80 ticket of Air India is not purchased, that is ticket purchase at normal rate is not admissible. It must be purchased under LTC 80 scheme. Number 5 is air tickets must be purchased directly from airlines or from some authorized travel agent like Messrs. Barmer, Lorry and Company, Messrs. Ashok Travels and Tours, and IRCTC. Otherwise, claim will be forfeited. Number 6 is claims are not countersigned by the controlling officer.
Now we shall discuss about some facts regarding children education allowance. Children education allowance is paid to the central government employees for the schooling and hostel facility offered to their children. Children education allowance facility is applicable to all central government employees without any pay limit, that is, an amount of reimbursement is fixed irrespective of pay limit of the employee. It is also applicable to state government servant on deputation to central government, civilian employee, those are paid from defense estimates, government servant on deputation to state government or on foreign service if such provisions are made in the terms of deputation or foreign service. Keeping in view the problems in documentation of CA claim, DOPT had issued consolidated instructions for dealing with CA claim wide OM number mentioned in slide dated 16th 17th July 2018. This OM supersedes all earlier OM on the CEA or hostel subsidy. The hostel subsidy and children education allowance can be claimed concurrently in case both the spouses are government servant. Only one of them can avail reimbursement under CEA or hostel subsidy. For it, government employee has to furnish a certificate along with claim that my spouse didn't claim the same facility. The reimbursement of CEA and hostel subsidy will be done just once in a financial year after completion of the financial year. Before implementation of 7th CPC, it may be claimed on quarterly basis, which has been discontinued after 7th.
Now we shall discuss about applicability of CEA claims. For reimbursement of hostel subsidy, the child must be studying in a residential educational institution which must be located at least 50 km away from the residence of government servant. If a child fails in a particular class, the reimbursement of CEA or hostel subsidy shall not be stopped. That is, reimbursement of CEA or hostel subsidy doesn't depend on the performance of child. CEA is allowed in case of children studying through correspondence or distance learning subjected to the conditions laid down herein. The CEA and hostel subsidy is admissible in respect of children studying from class 1 to 12th standard and only for two classes before class 1, that is two classes from playgroup, nursery, LKG, UKG, etc., whichever is applicable. Documents for CEA claims are as follows. Number 1, first requirement is contingent bill for claiming CEA duly signed by the claimant. Second requirement is certificate from head of the institution for the period or year for which claim has been preferred. In case such certificate cannot be obtained, then self-attested copy of report card or self-attested fee receipt can be produced as a supporting document. Admissibility of CEA. Maximum limit of admissibility of CEA are as follows. Reimbursement of CEA or hostel subsidy can be claimed by government servant for the two eldest surviving children only, with the exception that in case second child results in twins or multiple birth or failure of sterilization operation. The upper age limit for Divyang children has been set as 22 years. In case of other children, the upper age limit will be 20 years or till the time of passing 12th class, whichever is earlier. There shall be no provision for minimum age.
New rates of reimbursement of CEA or hostel subsidy are declared with effect from 1st of July 2017. Rates of reimbursement of CEA will be rupees 2250 per month per child. This amount of rupees 2250 is fixed irrespective of the actual expenses incurred by the government servant. Rates of reimbursement of CEA for Divyang children shall be payable at double the normal rates of CEA prescribed, that is rupees 4500 per month per child. The amount of ceiling of hostel subsidy is rupees 6750 per month. Claimant should avoid some common audit observation in order to smooth payment of CEA or hostel subsidy claim. These audit observations are: first, claim must be submitted after completion of financial year. Second, claim submitted for more than 2 classes before class 1, since claim only for 2 classes are permissible before class 1. Third, claim submitted without proper certificate from previous pay office. In case of transfer, a certificate should contain the claimed detail in previous station. Fourth, claim submitted for same class without producing performance report of the child, that is, if child failed in a particular class, then performance report should attach with the claim. Fifth, authenticity of claim is checked by the register maintained in section having records of CA claims paid to the employee.
Now, we shall discuss the rules for reimbursement of medical claims, which are mentioned in next few slides. Central government employees and their family members are entitled for medical facilities under two schemes or rules. Number 1 is Central Government Health Scheme, that is CGHS, under which CGHS Wellness Center are established by the government in selected cities as notified by government time to time. Second is Central Service Medical Attendance Rules 1944, shortly termed as CSMA Rules 1944. CGHS facility is available at selected cities as notified by the government time to time. The government servants, those are residing in the area covered by CGHS, are governed by CGHS rules for reimbursement of medical claims. Pensioner can get their name registered with any of the CGHS wellness center, whether they are residing in the city or not. Under CSMA rules, the government servant, those are not residing in the area covered by CGHS, are treated under CSMA rules 1944 and reimbursement of medical claims made accordingly.
Authorized medical attendants. A department of central government or head of department is empowered to appoint medical officer under the employ of the central government, state government and union territories. Is also medical officer not in government employ, that is private registered medical practitioner is authorized medical attendant. Private registered medical practitioner are appointed as AMS where adequate number of government doctor in various system of medicines are not available, or when their services are not available within a radius of 5 kilometer or because of the remoteness of the area. Guidelines for CGHS beneficiaries are: number first, CGHS beneficiary required to take treatment in CGHS dispensary, referral of CGHS doctor is necessary for treatment in private empaneled hospital. Emergency treatment can be taken from hospital in case of no government or recognized hospital located nearby. In such case, emergency certificate from hospital is necessary. Third, if medicines are purchased from open market, a case of OPD treatment taken from recognized private hospital, then amount of purchase of such medicines is not reimbursable. Therefore, it is advised to obtain the same from CGHS dispensary. Fourth, if tests or investigations are carried out privately by CGHS beneficiary on the advice of a government specialist, a non-availability certificate from the government hospital concerned should be attached.
These are the guidelines for AMA beneficiaries. Number 1, AMA beneficiaries are required to take OPD treatment from AMA located near his residence. Number 2, AMA is not authorized to give indoor treatment at his own clinic or nursing home in any case. If inpatient treatment considered necessary, patient should be referred to government or private recognized or referral hospital for further treatment. Number 3 is emergency treatment can be taken from private hospital in case no government or recognized hospital located nearby. Number 4, treatment from AMA is restricted to 10 days only. If the treatment is expected to be prolonged beyond 10 days from the date of treatment, a patient has to be referred to OPD of government or recognized hospital by AMA. Number 5th is AMA beneficiaries may take the treatment from any recognized hospital under CGHS or state government subjected to the condition that they will be reimbursed the medical expenses at the rate fixed by the government under CGHS rules or actual expenditure incurred, whichever is less. Documentation of medical claims. Number 1, two types of certificate First, Medical 97 in respect of CSMA beneficiaries, and second, Medical 2004 in respect of CGHS beneficiaries are required along with essential certificates A and B. Number 2, all original bills certified by the treating physician with the stamp containing his name, designation, registration number, qualification, and hospital to which he or she attached. Number 3 is reference letter from CGHS or AMA in case a patient is referred by CGHS doctor or AMA. Number 4th requirement is photocopy of CGHS card or dependency certificate in respect of CSMA beneficiaries. Number 5, discharge summary of hospital in case of inpatient treatment.
Number 6 document is legal hair certificate in case of death of the government servant. Number 7, a detailed list of all medicines, lab tests, investigations, number of doctors visit, name of the procedure done at hospital, etc. should be enclosed with claim for reimbursement. Number 8, breakup details of all the items billed by hospitals and CGHS code for procedure done and for various lab tests done should be furnished. Number 9, reimbursement claim should invariably be preferred within 1 month in case of medical advance availed, and in other cases within 3 months from the date of completion of treatment. Time barred cases should require the sanction of competent authority. Checklist for medical claims are Medical 97 or Medical 2004 countersigned by the controlling officers concerned. Second, emergency certificate from the treating doctor in case of treatment taken in emergency. Number 3, cash bill for purchase of medicines countersigned by the doctor. If not countersigned, then claim will be turned down. Number 4, essentiality certificate signed by the doctor. Number 5, CGHS or AMA reference must be enclosed. Number 6, breakup details for various lab tests should be enclosed. Number 7, self-explanatory letter from the beneficiary explaining the emergency circumstances. Number 8, statement of case in triplicate from the controlling officer duly justifying the treatment in emergency. Number 9, letter addressed to the sanctioning authority for ex post facto sanction in duplicate.
Traveling allowance claim of central government civilian employees are also important to discuss here. Rules for traveling allowances claim deal with the travel entitlement of employee on temporary duty, during transfer, or on the retirement of employees. After recommendation of 7th CPC, revised rates of traveling allowances are set out by the Government of India, Ministry of Finance, Department of Expenditure, wide OM number mentioned in the slide dated 13 of July 2017. In these revised TA rules, pay level is the determining factor of TADA entitlement as per Central Civil Service Revised Pay Rule 2016. The revised TA or DA entitlement will not be lowered by the existing entitlement of employee, that is TADA entitlement of an employee before implementation of said OM will not be lowered by these revised rules. These revised TA rules are effective from 1st of July 2017. Entitlement for journey on tour or training are as follows. Here, travel entitlements for journey within the country are as follows. Pay level 14 and above are entitled for business or club class by the air or AC first by the train. Pay level 12 and 13 are entitled for economy class by air or AC first by train. Pay level 6 to 11 are entitled for economy class by air or AC second by the train. Pay level 5 and below are entitled for the first class, AC third or AC chair car by the train.
Government officials are allowed to travel by premium trains or premium Tatkal trains or Suvidha trains as per their entitlements. These entitlements are for pay level 12 and above are entitled for executive or AC first class in case of premium or premium Tatkal or Suvidha or Shatabdi or Rajdhani trains as per available highest class. Pay level 6 to 11 are entitled for AC second class or chair car. These entitlements are only in Shatabdi trains for pay level 6 to 11. Pay level 5 and below are entitled for AC third class or chair car. For international travel entitlements, officials having pay level 17 and above are entitled for first class by air. Pay level 14 to 16 are entitled for business or club class by air. Pay level 13 and below are entitled for economy class by air. Travel entitlements for journey by sea or river steamer are categorized under two categories. First category is travel entitlement other than Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep Island, and entitlement for this category are pay level 9 and above are entitled for highest class. Pay level 6 to 8 are entitled for lower class if there be two classes only on the steamer. Pay level 4 and 5 are entitled if two classes only, the lower class. If there are three classes, then entitled for the middle or second class. If there be four classes, then entitled for the third class. Pay level 3 and below are entitled for lowest class.
Second category for travel entitlement by sea or river steamer is traveled between mainland and the Andaman and Nicobar group and Lakshadweep group of island. Entitlement for this category are as follows. Pay level 9 and above are entitled for deluxe class. Pay level 6 to 8 are entitled for first or A cabin class. Pay level 4 to 5 are entitled for second or B cabin class. Pay level 3 and below are entitled for bunk class. Mileage allowances in case of journey by the road are also classified under two categories. First category is for the places where specific rates has been prescribed, which are as follows. Pay level 14 and above are entitled for actual fare of any type of public bus including AC bus, or at prescribed rate of AC taxi when the journey is actually performed by AC taxi, or at prescribed rate for auto rickshaw for the journeys auto rickshaw, on car, scooter, motorcycle or moped, etc. Pay level 6 to 13 are entitled for the same as above with the exception journey by the AC taxi will not be permissible and pay level 4 and 5 are entitled for actual fare of any type of public bus other than AC bus or at prescribed rate for auto rickshaw for journey by auto rickshaw, on car, scooter, motorcycle or moped, etc. Pay level 3 and below are entitled for actual fare by the ordinary public bus only or at prescribed rate for the auto rickshaw for the journey by auto rickshaw, on scooter, motorcycle, moped, etc.
Second category of mileage allowance for journey by road is for the places where no specific rate have been prescribed. The entitlement for this category are for journey performed in own car or taxi rupees 24 per kilometer. For journey performed by auto rickshaw, on scooter, etc. rupees 12 per kilometer. Daily allowance on tour includes hotel charges, taxi charges and food charges. These entitlements are for pay level 14 and above, hotel charges up to rupees 7,500 per day, AC taxi charges as per actual expenditure, food charges not exceeding rupees 1,200 per day. For pay level 12 and 13, hotel charges up to rupees 4,500 per day, AC taxi charges up to 50 km per day for travel within city. Food charges not exceeding rupees 1,000 per day. For pay level 9 to 11, hotel charges up to rupees 2,250 per day, non-AC taxi charges up to rupees 338 per day, food charges not exceeding rupees 900 per day. For pay level 6 to 8, hotel charges up to rupees 750 per day, non-AC taxi charges up to rupees 225 per day, food charges not exceeding rupees 800 per day. For pay level 5 and below, hotel charges up to rupees 450 per day, non-AC taxi charges up to rupees 113 per day, food charges not exceeding rupees 500 per day.
For reimbursement of hotel charges, vouchers are not required for pay level 8 and below. Exceptionally, for stay in class X cities, the ceiling for all employees up to level 8 would be 1000 rupees per day on the production of vouchers. Reimbursement of traveling charges are similar to reimbursement of staying accommodation charges for pay level 8 and below. The self-certified claim should clearly indicate the period of travel, vehicle number, etc. Vouchers are not required for reimbursement of food bill, but reimbursement will depend on the length of the absence from headquarters as per timing restrictions. These timing restrictions are as follows. For the absence less than 6 hours, 30% of lump sum amount is admissible. For absence between 6 to 12 hours, 70% of lump sum amount is admissible. For absence more than 12 hours, 100% of lump sum amount is admissible. Absence from headquarter will be reckoned from midnight to midnight and will be calculated on per day basis.
There are four components for TA on transfer. These are: first, eligible for travel entitlements for self and family. Second, CTG, that is composite transfer and packaging grant. Third, reimbursement of charges on transportation of personal effects, that is luggage charges. Fourth, reimbursement of charges on transportation of conveyance. CTG is 80% of basic pay of last month, subject to distance is 20 km or more between transferred station. One third of CTG is admissible in case distance is within 20 km and transfer involves change in place of residence due to change of command or office. In case of husband and wife, both are transferred within 6 months, but after 60 days of transfer of spouse, CTG is admissible 50% of basic pay. Entitlements of transportation of personal effects are: pay level 12 and above, luggage up to 6 tons by goods train or by four-wheeler wagon or by one double container is allowed. Rupees 50 per kilometer by road is admissible. For pay level 6 to 11, luggage up to 6 ton by goods train or by four-wheeler wagon or by one single container is allowed. Rupees 50 per kilometer by road is admissible. For pay level 5, luggage up to 3 tons is allowed. Rupees 25 per kilometer by road is admissible. For pay level 4 and below, luggage up to 1.5 tons is allowed. Rupees 50 per kilometer by road is admissible.
Transportation of conveyance are reimbursed at these rates. Pay level 6 and above are allowed reimbursement of conveyance charge on one motor car or one motorcycle or one scooter. Pay level 5 and below are allowed for reimbursement of conveyance charge on one motorcycle or scooter or moped or bicycle. There are four components of TA on retirement. These are: number 1, travel entitlement for self and family. Number 2 is CTG, that is composite transfer and packaging grant. Number 3 is reimbursement of charges on transportation of personal effect, that is luggage charges. Number 4 is reimbursement of charges on transportation of conveyance. There are some common audit observations while processing the TA claims. These observations are as follows. Number 1, sometimes moment sanction of competent authority or Part 2 office order of moment is not attached with the claim. Number 2 is time barred submission of claims. Claim should be submitted within 1 month after completion of journey if advance is taken for the journey, or within 2 months if advance is not taken. Number 3 is if time barred claim is submitted, then it must contain time barred sanction of competent authority. Number 4 is voucher of transportation of luggage, not mentioning service tax or GST number, etc. Number 5 is transportation of luggage is carried out through unauthorized vehicle.
So friends, if we keep these basic rules in mind while submission of our personal claims for audit, then I think that our personal claims will be passed smoothly in audit without any audit observation.
Friends, this presentation will definitely be helpful for submission of our personal claims. With these lines, I would like to say thanks to all of you.
न कालमति वर्तन्ते महान्तः स्वेषु कर्मसु, अर्थात महान लोग अपने कर्तव्यों में देरी नहीं करते।